Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Thank you so much for deciding to tune in and join me today, and my sincerest apologies for not uploading for a very long time. I believe my last video was about 7 months ago, and I think I owe it to you guys to kind of explain what happened. So nothing too major, but the laptop that I was using, which was a MacBook Pro, it's basically died out on me. And the issue was the MacBook screen had actually completely absolutely destroyed itself. And it seems like it was a very common fault for that generation of MacBooks purchased between, I think it was 2016 and 2019. Not a fantastic experience, especially since you spend, I think it was around $3,000 on a MacBook back then. But nevertheless, Apple's pretty good about it. This year they've recognized that it's an official fault and that they have replaced it for free. So it's currently in the workshop right now with a local Apple reseller store, and hopefully I'll get that back soon. But in the meantime, I did purchase a brand new MacBook Air with a new M1 chip, supposedly a lot faster, fanless, so it doesn't make any sort of noise. And supposedly with the new M1 chip, it should be able to put out some fantastic power and performance, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to edit some videos on YouTube and see how it performs. So far, so good. But look, once again, really appreciative of you guys to come in and watch another gameplay commentary with me. What you're seeing here is some Halo the Master Chief Collection gameplay. Right now it's actually some Halo Reach gameplay, but I think I'm going to upload a little bit more Halo content going forward as opposed to Call of Duty. I just haven't really been able to enjoy Call of Duty or Warzone as much as I did back in the day. I think it's become a lot more competitive, the community's become pretty toxic as well, and I'm just not having a great time playing it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the throwback. Halo Reach came out in, I believe, September of 2010, and that was my favorite game. I grew up playing this game while I was in high school. Hope some of you guys can relate, right? You get home from school and the first thing you do is switch on the Xbox 360 and jam some Halo Reach with some friends. But other than that, following on the trend of my previous videos, what I try to do with this YouTube channel is I want to talk to you guys and discuss in an open forum, some real life issues, situations and experiences that you guys might come across. They will be from my perspective. I've certainly come across some of these things, and in the hopes of sharing these with you guys, in the hopes that you guys might be able to relate and find solace in the fact that you guys are not alone. So a bit of a roadmap for what you guys can expect to see from me in this channel is topics like personal finance, relationships, work-life balance, all this from an experience of someone in their late teens or early to late 20s. Because let's be real, it's quite difficult to grow up in a day and age like it is today. Yes, we have amazing luxuries that previous generations could only ever dream of. But on the flip side of that, we also face unique problems, issues and tribulations that the previous generation could also never dream of, right? Or could never even imagine. So kudos to you guys who have made it so far in life. I trust that you guys are all doing a fantastic job. So keep it up, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing a fantastic job, and I wish you all the best in terms of your personal, financial, and career goals. Now, what I wanted to share with you guys today is a story, but also an experience of something that happened to me a couple weeks ago. And this experience really brought to light a lot of the principles and values that I was taught, and I'm sure a bunch of other people were taught as well when they were younger. But generally in life, we need reminders of these things, right? And sometimes life has a very funny way of giving you a reality check and to remind you, hey, you need to make sure that you're upholding these values. That value is respecting and spending time with your elders and your loved ones. So it's of no surprise when I tell you guys that, hey, look, your elders or the old people, they don't stay around forever, right? They don't hang around forever in your lives. They've got their own things that they need to do, and their time in our world is limited, right, considering their age. When we were younger, perhaps as kids, we spent a lot of time with our grandparents, right? Hopefully that you guys still had your grandparents around when you were in your childhood. But for the most part, we spend a lot of time with our grandparents, right? We've got some, if you're lucky enough, you would have some fantastic memories that shared with your grandma, your grandpa, Maybe you were maybe even lucky enough to live with them for a bit, which was awesome. Like myself, I'm very humbled and very grateful to have those experiences, to be able to have lived with my grandma and granddad on my mother's side. As we grow older, we go to school, we go to university, we move cities, we move countries, we get jobs, and we lose contact with our elders. Usually they're the first people we lose contact with. Why? Well, I think it's because generally we don't live with them long enough to build that special connection after we left our childhood. And the second reason why is usually their thought processes are a little bit more old school, right? And that shouldn't come to you as a surprise. A lot of the values and traditions they uphold might be a little bit too conventional for what we think, right? So therefore, a lot of the values and principles we might have conflicting opinions on a lot of things with our elders. So as a result, sometimes we lose touch with these people. In my situation, I immigrated to the country that I am now from Asia when I was only 5 years old. So that meant leaving my grandparents back in my original country at a very young age. So I didn't spend a whole lot of time with them. As a result, I didn't see them a lot as I was growing up, only through voice calls back then, before smartphones were a thing, and certainly before video calls was a thing. So that meant the time or the chances that I had to catch up with my grandparents, talk about how their day was, talk about how I'm doing, was only over the phone. The quality of the phone call wasn't great. It was extremely expensive because it counted towards international minutes. This was the early 2000s, and the international minutes racked up significantly and very, very quickly. So you didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on the phone and only really discuss things that were urgent or of significant importance. So that means my relationship and my bond with my grandparents from my biological dad's side of the family suffered because we didn't have the luxury of spending quality time and building memories together. We were only limited once again to our conversations over the phone. That didn't stop my granddad from calling every single Saturday or Sunday, every single weekend, year after year. He was committed to making sure that he spent a bit of time with me over the phone, and from what I understand now is that he would always look forward to speaking with me throughout the entire week. That was his highlight of the week, and hearing that really touched me, and it made me recount on the number of times when he would call me and I was out with friends, or I was playing video games, or I was sometimes even working, that I wasn't able to give him the full attention that he deserved. That means over the phone, in our conversations, I was abrupt, I was dismissive, and I was disrespectful in a lot of ways. I didn't give him the time that he deserved. Even though he looked forward to speaking with me an entire week, I didn't give him the due diligence to ask him, hey, how was your week? Have you eaten? How do you feel? Are you feeling ill? Anything like that. My granddad, from my biological father's side, was a barber, and a traditional barber as well. So if you imagine the new age kind of hipster men's barber shop, with the old school chairs, big mustaches, scissors and all that. He was that, but the OG, right? So this was the very traditional old school barber shop, straight razor shave, everything, all that good stuff. Only recently retired at the age of 84. So he'd been working for majority of his life. I believe he started working as a barber in his 20s. So that's a long time working as a profession, right? And certainly almost unheard of in today's day and age, where most people, our generation, probably retire around 60 to 70. It was a tough life for him, and as a result, he suffered from a lot of injuries and pain in his feet and in his legs, because the nature of a barber is you're standing for long periods of time. Business progressively got worse as the advent of new, cheaper and more trendy barbers and salons came onto the market. His market dwindled, as a lot of people who are traditionally, that would go to these kind of barbers, his kind of barber, would eventually pass away due to old age or find cheaper alternatives on the market, as I said before. After one last surgery on his legs due to enduring fatigue, he decided to call it quits and retire. So he had finally been able to leave behind the profession that he loved so much, that has put food on the table, clothes on our backs, and the money for us to be able to immigrate into a brand new country and purchase a house for us to build a life in has now come to an end. Thankfully, the barber shop was a property that he did own, so he was able to rent out that location to a laundromat. So that in of itself, I can imagine, was a little heartbreaking to see the shop that he spent so many decades in turn into a laundromat. But he had to call it quits, and he had to know when to let go. So I do commend him on that. So after all these years of working, slaving away, and providing for his family, he's now safe to retire. He did call me a couple weeks, into his retirement, complaining that things are boring, I don't know what to do with my time, and that kind of thing. And I thought, why don't you just go for walks? That's what old people do. Go for walks, watch some TV, enjoy life. You don't have to be stuck in a barbershop now. And sure enough, I feel like he was starting to come around and enjoy a slower pace in life, right? But with that being said, my life didn't slow down. My relationships, my career, my financial concerns, they didn't slow down, right? If anything, I'm almost at peak operating level, and I need to ensure that I am doing all I can to ensure that I build the same future that he did for his family. And as a result, me being stupid and ignorant and disrespectful, I would still be a little bit dismissive and short with him over the phone. Sometimes to even pick up the phone while I'm busy and say, hey look, I'm in the middle of something, I need to call you back, right? And throughout all this, my mum's telling me, she's calling me and say, hey look, Granddad is not getting any younger, you need to spend a little bit more time with him over the phone while he's still around. And us in our youth, we hear this message over and over again, be it from our parents, be it from our friends, be it from the actual old people that we're trying to, spend less time with talking to. We hear this message all the time, but it doesn't really sink in until something does happen. And that thing for me eventually did happen. From 1 week of talking to him, the next week I was dismissive because I was in the middle of something, and I said I'd call back, which I didn't. To the next week, where I get a phone call from Grandma and him in the hospital, him having suffered a stroke, and the left side of his face and entire body was disabled, and he looked like a completely different person. And he said to me over the phone, the first time ever that I've heard him say, I love you. And that's quite tough, because if you come from an Asian family background, you would know that our relatives, our parents and all that, we rarely say I love you to each other unless something's gone wrong, or you feel like you're at the end of the line, that kind of thing. So that meant a lot to me. But what I'm trying to get to, my point here is, guys, don't let something like a stroke or a heart attack or a car accident be your reminder to reach out and stay in touch with a loved one. This doesn't even need to be family either. If your relationship with an old friend, an old colleague, an old manager, or anything like that has broken down in the past, and there's still a connection there, do what you can to salvage that connection. This was really a reminder that life is too short. And once again, it's another thing that us young people, we get bombarded with, and we get told all the time by old people that life is short, no one stays around forever. Truly, this is a big reality check that life is very short. So do what you can, spend time with loved ones, spend time with people that you enjoy spending time with, and obviously recognize that there are some things and some relationships that do require, cutting off, or you need to spend less time with certain people. But in general, you're loved. You're surrounded by people who love you, people who care about you. It's coming up to the end of the video, so I want to wish you guys all the best. Thank you for tuning in once again. Hope you guys achieve all your career, relationship, personal, financial goals in the future, and I hope to see you guys back in the next one. Thank you.